turned into a caged hamster. The social media buzz led to dozens of interviews with media outlets around the world, and they all seemed to be enjoying my suffering a bit too much. Their rubbernecking was understandable. I was a hostage at the happiest place on earth. Well, that's how the sports talk hosts like to phrase my predicament, but it wasn't quite true. I had volunteered for the assignment, a basketball obsessive eager to get a courtside view for the NBA's ambitious and unprecedented restart. The Washington Post, my employer, had paid more than $50,000 for my golden ticket as one of the few independent media members to live and work entirely inside the bubble, and I was technically free to leave at any time, although bailing out was an unthinkable proposition given all the money, energy, and stress required to get me to Disney World in the first place. How did I get here? The answer was simple and yet so big that it defied comprehension. All aspects of my new life in Orlando were shaped by the novel coronavirus pandemic, which spread from China to the United States in early 2020. When I arrived at Disney World on July 12, 2020, Americans had been dying and American businesses had been struggling for months. This specific coronavirus, named COVID-19, caused a disease with a range of symptoms: fever, fatigue, cough, shortness of breath, aches, and the loss of taste and smell. COVID-19 was deadly, especially among vulnerable populations like the elderly, and it spread rapidly. A widely available vaccine was still months away, and there was no sweeping federal game plan for confronting the virus or limiting its spread. Only conflicting public health recommendations, shifting timelines, and a false hope, expressed repeatedly by President Donald Trump, that it would magically go away. These invisible, unexpected killer germs rocked the American people and presented an existential threat to businesses. 22 million Americans lost their jobs during the early stages of the pandemic, and the NBA wasn't spared. Thanks to a decade-long financial boom and a lucrative media rights deal, the NBA was an $8 billion per year business before the pandemic. Then, with little warning, the league had to shutter its arenas and indefinitely suspend its season when a player tested positive for the mysterious new virus on March 11, 2020. Our revenue has essentially dropped to zero, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver admitted on an April 17th conference call. Less than 3 months after Silver delivered the direst statement of his 6-year tenure, nearly 350 players on 22 teams arrived at Disney World. Considerable planning and extensive negotiations between the league and the National Basketball Players Association had produced a radical and ambitious solution to the pandemic. By strictly limiting contact with the outside world and enforcing public health best practices, the NBA hoped to play hundreds of games inside a bubble environment. Walled off from the rest of society, the NBA could attempt to complete its regular season and hold the playoffs. While the plan made sense in theory, basketball was especially vulnerable to the coronavirus. Experts were still grappling with how the virus spread, but it appeared that indoor gatherings presented a higher risk and that close contact situations should be avoided. Basketball, of course, was a full contact sport played indoors. If one player unknowingly contracted the virus and played in a game, he could easily expose teammates, coaches, opponents, referees, and possibly media members. But the NBA was intent on generating television money and crowning a champion, and I was intent on being there to see it succeed or fail. Raised in the shadow of Nike's world headquarters in Beaverton, Oregon, I became enamored with basketball at a young age thanks to a steady diet of Michael Jordan propaganda and the Portland Trail Blazers' Rip City runs to the 1990 and 1992 finals. Since I began covering the NBA in 2007, I had structured my life around the league's schedule, covering games on Christmas, hitting the road every spring for the playoffs, and taking brief vacations during the late summer dog days. My typical week involved writing 5 basketball stories and appearing on 5 basketball podcasts. When the arenas went dark, my life got dark. If I needed to sacrifice the comforts of home and hand over my private medical information to see the 2019-2020 season's biggest names, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, compete for a title, so be it. The 3 leading contenders, the Los Angeles